Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be exploring something that's really captured my imagination lately: digital de-aging in movies.
Yeah, it's really fascinating stuff. It makes you wonder if Hollywood has found the fountain of youth.
Right. It's not just a little touch-up here and there. They're turning back the clock decades. Like, how is that even possible?
Well, it's a combination of some really cutting-edge techniques and the work of some incredibly talented visual effects artists.
Before we get too far, let's introduce our expert for this deep dive. We're really lucky to have some amazing research to pull from thanks to Marynês Pereira.
Oh, absolutely. She's done some really groundbreaking work in neuroscience, quantum physics, and positive psychology.
And she's really focused on how tech is changing things up in a bunch of different fields. So how does this de-aging thing even work? What's the secret sauce?
Well, there are actually a few different techniques involved. One of the most powerful is something called GANs, generative adversarial networks.
Yans. Okay, that sounds pretty high-tech. Are those like something I'd encounter in my daily life?
You probably already have. Think about those face swapping apps. The ones where you can see what you'd look like as like a different gender or even a celebrity?
Oh yeah, those are fun.
Right. Well, Jans are kind of like that, but obviously way more sophisticated. They use AI to analyze and recreate faces. It's like having two AIs battling it out.
Battling it out.
Yeah, one tries to make these fake images and the other tries to figure out if they're fake. And through that process, the AI that's making the images gets really good at making realistic stuff.
So they're like learning from each other and just constantly getting better.
Exactly. And that's how they can basically rewind an actor's appearance, make them look younger.
So it's almost like AI is learning to be like a super skilled makeup artist. But instead of brushes and makeup, it's using like algorithms and data, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's all about manipulating those really subtle details that change as we age, like your skin texture, wrinkles, even the shape of your face.
So GANs are a big part of it, but what other things are they using?
Well, 3D modeling is another important one. They create this really detailed 3D model of the actor's face at whatever age they're aiming for.
Oh, wow.
Then they use AI and software to manipulate that model, smooth out the wrinkles, adjust the skin texture, basically digitally sculpting a younger version of the actor.
So it's like they're building a younger version of the person, like layer by layer digitally.
Exactly. And then there's something called Deep Face Lab. It uses those same GANs that we were talking about, but it applies them to video.
So instead of just a picture, they can like change faces in whole scenes.
Yep. And it creates this like seamless illusion. That's how they make it look so believable.
Hold on. Deep Face Lab. Doesn't that have something to do with those deep fake videos I've seen online?
You're right. Deep Face Lab is actually software that can be used to create deepfakes. But, and this is important, technology itself isn't inherently good or bad.
Yeah.
It's all about how it's used. In movies, it's a tool for digital rejuvenation, not for spreading misinformation.
Okay, so same tech, different purpose. What are the special effects companies, though? Like Industrial Light and Magic. They're the ones behind so many of those blockbuster movies. Don't they play a big role, too?
ILM is huge in this field. They often use AI techniques like GANs, along with more traditional CGI and VFX.
Right.
And it all comes together to create some really realistic and believable de-aged characters. Like, remember The Irishman? They de-aged Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci.
Oh my gosh, yes. That movie was incredible. I was convinced they'd like invented time travel or something.
That was the goal. And they use this blend of cutting-edge tech and artistry to pull it off.
It was amazing. And then you have movies like Gemini Man, where Will Smith is literally fighting a younger version of himself.
Oh, yeah, that one was wild.
I can't even imagine the technical challenges of something like that.
Yeah, it was a huge undertaking. They used advanced AI and motion capture technology to make this digital double of Will Smith that was just so realistic.
It was kind of freaky how real it looked.
Oh, for sure. It was definitely pushing the boundaries of what's possible with this technology.
So we've got The Irishman, Gemini Man. What are some other movies that have used this tech?
Well, there's Tron. Legacy, they used it there. Oh, and Captain America, the first Avenger. And Ant-Man.
Wow, so it's being used in more movies than I even realized.
Well, yeah, it's becoming more and more common.
Speaking of iconic characters, what about the most recent Indiana Jones? They de-aged Harrison Ford in that one. And I mean, he looked incredible.
Oh, they took it to another level with that one. ILM used this 5-step process for Indiana Jones and the Relipia do Destino. It all started with gathering a ton of archive material of a young Harrison Ford.
Oh, wow. So they had to, like, go back and find all that old footage.
Yeah. And then they used some pretty sophisticated deepfake algorithms to analyze his face, like his features and expressions from different angles.
Wait, hold on. They used deep fake tech in the new Indiana
Yeah,
Jones.
they did. But remember what we were talking about earlier? It's all about context.
Right, right.
It's like, a surgeon uses a scalpel to save lives, but someone else could use a knife in a dangerous way.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Same tool, totally different intentions.
Yeah.
In the movie, they're using it for digital rejuvenation.
To make a believable, younger Harrison Ford. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So what else did they do to, bring young Indy to life?
So they used motion capture to record Harrison Ford's movements and expressions.
Oh, cool.
And then they used that data to animate the 3D model of his younger self.
So they captured everything, every little detail.
Pretty much. And then after that, they used 3D modeling and animation to refine it even more, adding details like hair and, skin texture.
Wow, it sounds super involved.
Oh, yeah, it is. The final step was compositing, blending that de-aged footage with all the live action scenes.
Wow. That's incredible. So much work goes into this. It's fascinating.
Oh, it definitely is. And we've only scratched the surface here.
Right. We've been talking about movies this whole time, but this tech, it feels like it could be used for so many other things, right?
Absolutely. This isn't just limited to Hollywood. It could revolutionize advertising. I mean, imagine seeing, celebrities from different eras in commercials.
That would be so
Right,
good.
creating these connections across generations. And video games could be completely transformed. Imagine the characters.
Oh, yeah.
So much more realistic, and even education. History could come alive in a whole new way.
Oh, I love that.
You could have these digitally recreated historical figures.
Imagine seeing, a de-aged Marie Curie giving a lecture on radioactivity.
Exactly.
Oh, that'd be amazing. This technology is it's opening up all these crazy possibilities.
And it's really changing how we experience information and stories.
It's mind-blowing.
It really is. It's pretty amazing stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it's not just about making things look cool.
Right?
It could really change things up in ways we haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah, you're right. As cool as all this is, I can't help but think about, the downsides. What could go wrong?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if you can make anyone look any age, what's to stop someone from misusing it?
Exactly. It's one thing to de-age Harrison Ford for a movie. But what if someone uses this to, spread fake news or hurt someone's reputation?
That's the scary part, right?
Sure.
It's a reminder that any technology can be used for good or bad.
It's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah, exactly. And as it gets easier to use, we need to get better at spotting fakes and fighting misinformation.
So we're kind of moving into this world where we can't always trust what we see. How do we even know what's real anymore?
It's a tough question. And as the tech gets more advanced, it's only going to get harder. It's we need a whole new set of skills to navigate this digital world.
It feels like we're always playing catch-up.
In a way, yeah. But it's not just about spotting fakes, though, right? We also have to think about the bigger picture.
What do you mean?
Well, think about the entertainment industry. If we can just digitally recreate any actor at any age, does that change how we value, real performances?
It's almost like blurring the lines between what's authentic and what's made up. What does that mean for the actors?
That's a good question. Some actors might love the possibilities. They could extend their careers and play roles that they couldn't before.
Yeah.
But some might worry about, what it means for their craft, or if their digital likeness will be used without their permission.
Yeah, there are so many legal and ethical questions that come up.
Absolutely. And then there's the audience, right? How will this change how we experience stories and connect with the characters?
Part of the fun of watching movies is getting lost in the story and believing in those characters. But if we know someone's appearance is all digital, does that ruin the magic?
That's a really interesting question. And honestly, we probably won't know the answer for a while. It really challenges how we think about authenticity.
And reality.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to talk about these things now. While the technology is still fairly new, we can't just focus on how cool it is. We got to think about the consequences, too.
So where do you think this is all headed? Is digital de-aging just a fad? Or is it something that's going to stick around?
I think it's here to stay. Once a technology proves itself, it just keeps evolving and spreading.
So what can we do to get ready for this future where we're seeing this tech everywhere?
The most important thing is awareness. We need to understand how it works, what it can do, and what it can't do. Be critical of what you see, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
It's like they say, knowledge is power.
Exactly. The more we know, the better prepared we'll be to handle all this.
This deep dive has been, like, seriously mind-blowing. We've covered so much.
Yeah.
From the tech behind it to the ethical stuff.
It's a big topic for sure.
And it's definitely given me a lot to think about.
Me too. And that's what's so cool about new technologies, right? They push us to think differently about the world.
So we've talked about how this all works, and we've seen some crazy examples from movies, and we've even gotten into some of the tricky ethical questions. But what does it all mean for the future of entertainment and, like, beyond?
That's the million-dollar question, right? This isn't just Hollywood. It could change advertising, education, even how we think about personal identity.
Imagine a world where you can just choose how old you look digitally. What would that do to society?
That's a wild thought. It could be great, more self-expression and acceptance of aging, but it could also make people more anxious about how they look.
Yeah, that's true.
It's really two sides of the same coin.
It's exciting and kind of scary all at the same time.
Definitely. That's why these conversations are so important. We need to be thinking about all of this stuff, the good and the bad.
It's like we're all figuring out the rules for this new digital world together.
Exactly. And it's not just up to the tech companies or the filmmakers. We all have a role to play in shaping this future.
It really is. It feels kind of like we're standing on the edge of something huge, and we don't even know where it's going to take us.
Yeah, it's exciting and scary all at once.
So with all of this in mind, what's the one thing you really want to leave our listener with today? Like, as they head back out into this world where real and fake are getting harder and harder to tell apart, what should they be thinking about?
I think the most important thing is to remember that this tech, even though it's super powerful and could really change things, it's still just a tool.
Okay.
It can be used in good ways or bad ways, and it's really up to us to figure out how to use it responsibly.
So it's not about being afraid of it, it's about understanding it, right?
Yeah, exactly. We need to be aware of what it can do, how it works. And that brings us back to Marynês Pereira's work.
Great.
She emphasizes just how important it is to really understand these technologies if we want to make sure they're developed ethically.
This whole deep dive has been amazing. We've covered so much. From the actual nuts and bolts of how it works to the bigger questions about what it all means.
It's been quite a journey.
And it's definitely changed how I see movies now and the world in general.
I think that's the best part of exploring these new technologies. They make you question things, make you curious, make you see the world in a new way.
Well said. A huge thank you to Marynês Pereira for her amazing research and to you, our listener, for joining us on this deep dive into digital de-aging. Until next time, keep exploring it.